In this video guide, I'm going to take you through the step-by-step process on how to build your very own natural-looking cascading waterfall for your bioactive paludarium or terrarium. We will simultaneously explore two different methods, but use the basic same building structure. Our first step is to build a drainage layer as well as a housing tower for our pump. This can be easily achieved with some aquarium divider grid as well as some aquarium filter foam. We're going to repeat the process for our second tank as well, but we're going to make a few changes. You can easily make your water feature look realistic by simply letting the water cascade over real stone or wood. You're going to want to have a pretty good idea where you want the centerpiece of your water feature to be. I personally rearranged these rocks for the better part of 2 or 3 hours. The only thing I really knew at the end of that is that I liked the way the water settled on this depression on this rock, and I knew that I would be building from that piece. When I finally had a good idea of how I wanted my rock formation to look, I went ahead and started to form out the aquarium filter foam and also build the trench for the water collection. I took my dragon stone, which was going to be the prominent standout feature of this tank, and started to figure out exactly how I wanted to look in there. I took more small pieces of aquarium divider grid and set them down on the base so I'd have a nice stable platform on which to attach all the different stones. I sealed everything together using aquarium safe silicone. I did something similar for the secondary tank. This one is going to be a paludarium rather than a vivarium, meaning there will be an open standing water section, so I left that area open in my false bottom. This will be the vampire crab terrarium. I also went ahead and installed my miniature pump. Since the vampire crab babies are really small, I added an extra layer of window screen to make sure that they couldn't get into the housing unit. I sealed the seams shut, try to say that fast 3 times in a row, using some more aquarium safe silicone and some aquarium filter foam. I wanted there to be a small meandering river to my water feature on the vampire crab paludarium, so I built a small little bracket using more aquarium divider grid where I would ultimately be letting the water flow. For my first vivarium, for simplicity's sake, this is my poison dart frog terrarium. I had finally figured out the configuration of stones. I was confident that I liked the placement, and I went ahead and started to seal everything using aquarium safe silicone, and then I went ahead and beautied up the imperfections using some crushed black lava rock. I used a measuring cup filled with distilled water to test out the flow of the water and then make readjustments to make sure that it was pooling up where I wanted it to go. My foundation of rocks was complete, and I liked the way the water flowed to the little pond at the bottom. So it was time to install my dragonstone. As you can see here, there is a small hole that I want to utilize. Essentially, let the water flow through it and make it look like it's coming out of the ground, kind of like a spring. And of course, I sealed everything together with more aquarium safe silicone. I used quite a bit of this, probably 8 tubes per build, and it does take about a week and a half to cure, and it doesn't smell great. I saved the scoop cups for some protein powder as well as a couple of supplements, and I decided that they would be perfect to use to pool the water up and to redirect it towards the hole. I also have another piece of driftwood that I want to use for the other side because I like the way that the water flows when it comes off the top of it. wanted to be certain that any water spilling off of the waterfall wasn't going to be seeping into the planted section of my terrarium, and I decided to put a divider up using more aquarium-safe silicone, and then I touched it up with some more crushed black lava rock. And then I filled in the excess space with more crushed black lava rock for aesthetic purposes, and also because it does let the water seep through pretty effortlessly, not to mention that the porousness allows for good bacteria growth. I also attached the vitamin supplement cups because these would be the last little redirect of water towards the dragonstone later on. Attached with more aquarium-safe silicone, of course. And once that had cured, I went ahead and tested it out using some more distilled water. Once I was certain that I liked the way everything looked, I tied it all together using Great Stuff expanding foam. I had repeated the process in my vampire terrarium as well. I made sure to really lap it on thick over the section where my little river would be meandering through. I gave it about 20 minutes while the foam was still malleable and started to roll it back up. Once I was sure that it would cure how I wanted it to, I let it do just that for about 24 hours before taking a razor blade to it again. I just kept repeating the process, and then I smoothed out the uncured section in the middle. I also cut off all the shiny parts of the foam to prep it for the steps later on. Here's the poison dart frog terrarium after the expanding foam had finished curing. I used a razor blade to once again flesh out and clean off the expanding foam for the later steps, and also so I could figure out where the water would flow. Once I was finished clearing out a path, I tested it with more distilled water. I attached the hose from the water pump, you guessed it, with aquarium-safe silicone, and then sealed it off using another piece of dragonstone to make it look more realistic. And then I filled her up using more distilled water. Remember, both of these tanks operate on a false bottom system, meaning that the entire bottom of the tank actually has about 1.5 to 2 inches of standing water at all time. The water from the pump grabs this and cycles it to the top, where it cascades through the rocks, in this case, or the driftwood in my vampire crab terrarium, eventually seeping back through the gravel back towards the aquarium safe filter foam, through the aquarium divider grid, and then eventually back to the pump. I was worried that the water coming out of the river might cascade over the top of this wood too quick, so I used the drill bit and didn't drill too far, but did put a little notch in the top. I took the razor blade to the wood to make sure that the water was redirected to the little notch that I had drilled. I had coated the entire backdrop using cocoa peat sphagnum moss on top of more aquarium-safe silicone, and I vacuumed all of that out of my meandering river section. I gave everything a final quick cleanup using my razor blade. Attached the hose for the water pump. And then I attached a rim using aquarium safe silicone as well as activated aquarium carbon. I let that cure, vacuumed out the excess, and repeated the process for the base layer using white aquarium sand. I also switched from black silicone to clear silicone for the white sand on the bottom. Once everything was vacuumed out and cleaned up, all was left to do was add more distilled water, plug it in, and pray that it worked. There was a tiny little leak in the river section, but I decided that it actually worked out pretty good because the vampire crabs could use the humidity in the drip cave. I added a wet moss mix on top of my backdrop, and here's how everything looks fully planted. Quick reminder that all building material links are in the description, and make sure that you like and subscribe. Help me out. Also, make sure you subscribe for real because I have some awesome build ideas coming up.